So I said on my Facebook page I'll do a new video tonight, and I'm going to cover the subject of just adding a real interesting texture to your beats. I used to do this sort of stuff back in the day on the hardware, so I used to use the gain really high on the mixer, on the input, and then I used to have the fader really quite low to get this real crunchy, heavy sound. Very popular now with this kind of raw 90s underground flavor, and I'm going to cover Ableton, Cubase and Logic in the one video. And just want to say a big shout out to all the people who are getting busy on the Facebook page. It's really good to get people involved, and for the guys who are regularly contributing. So shout out to James, Christian, Robert, Boris, Steve, David, Dougie, and I've already said Christian. So thanks guys for getting involved on a regular basis, and you're keeping the page alive, so it's all good. So let's take a look. We're going to get some roughness out of the beats, very contemporary flavor, based on the old school vibes. I'm going to show you how we can do that inside Qbase, Ableton and Logic. A little sneak preview here of one of the new rough tracks, EP tracks, and this is definitely featuring that rough kind of vibe on the beat, so have a listen. Just going to solo the beats so you can hear these. Let me take the saturation off, which is the key to this. So just going to let that run. So can you hear how defined and clean all the drum elements are? Of course they've taken a dip in volume, but there is an extra texture to the sound, and I'm going to explore that. I'm going to show you the reason why it is as it is. I'm going to bring it back on. Now that kick really reminds me of the kind of kick drums that I used to have back on the hardware. So I had a Soundcraft Ghost. What I used to do, like I said on the intro, was to take the gain really high, so all the way clockwise, so that'd be fully rotated, and the gain is used to set the actual input level on the channel. We used to get basically whatever the signal was coming through, and we used to get it triggering rapidly, so the kick would be hitting, and really according to the textbook you were supposed to get your levels hitting at 0. So if you have your fader on the mixer set to 0, or unity, that's how it was also described, so you have that set to 0, and then you would set your input gain so that it was hitting that level. So it's like we had 0 on the fader and 0 on the actual channel. So we'd solo that channel, adjust the gain, get it so it's at 0 dB. Now that's cool if you want something nice and clean, and then afterwards what you do is keep the gain where it is and then use your fader to adjust the level. So that was like gain staging, getting it all set properly. But what I used to do, and what other producers used to do, was to take the gain and take it all the way clockwise to maximum level. So that's going to distort. It's going to distort in the electric circuitry of the mixer. So then as a result I had to bring the fader, the channel fader, down really, really low. So this is a kind of vibe that I'm trying to replicate, trying to get that sound, and this saturator is one of the things that you can use to do it. So let me just strip everything back. We're going to start again. We're going to do some analysis as well. I'm going to add a spectrum after the drum beats here. What I'm also going to do is bring on the utility, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show you in a second to get the level the same. So I'm just going to say here plus 15. I'm going to just type that in, so 15.4, and so what's going to happen is that I'm going to bypass this, so it's going to basically dip in volume. So I'm going to simulate the original volume using the plus 15 here. So let's just have a look. Right, let me turn this off. So let's have the beats as they are. So I'm going to use this to bring the level up. Take a look over here at the spectrum. Now particularly what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up and we're going to solo the kick. So let's bring it back. So this is just a kick drum. This is normal, okay? So what I'm going to do now is take off that gain and add the saturator. Right, can you hear that extra texture? Now you're going to see it over here. There are some kind of richer looking spikes on the spectrum analyzer, and that means that the sound has got more energy in these other frequencies. So once again, let's turn it off. Let's bring this level up. Can you hear it sounds brighter as well? So it sounds brighter and cleaner in its original state, but with the saturation on, it sounds rougher. We've lost some top end. It's got this grimy kind of thump to it now. So this is the difference. You can see in the spectrum, it's not as busy as it was. Let's come back. There we go. There we go. So this is a characteristic. This is the same as what I was talking about before, you know, rotating that gain. In a way, this drive control here is this is what's bringing that flavor in. So look, if we have this on, so the drive is 0, have a listen. This is like me cranking up that gain knob on my old Soundcraft. Gonna go all the way, which is kind of like that sort of real heavy techno, almost like Qbase style kick drum. So you can dial it in. So all you need to do is just use that drive control, just rotate, and it's almost like adding that saturation distortion. And this can sound great over all the beats. Okay, so it really does add personality. Let me just come back. I'm going to take the solo off the kick there. Let's take the hi-hats, and we're going to hear that crunch coming in. Then we take this off here. Let's bring that back to about 10 or so. Let's have a listen. So that's the hats on their own. Let's come now with a saturator. Let's crank it in. Can you hear all that raw kind of energy? And in an ideal world, probably what I should have done with this particular track is had the saturator at a different setting for each individual sound. But I was in a hurry and I liked the sound of it. It was fine. So for Ableton, if you want to add that sound, load up the saturator on whatever it is. It's going to sound great on a kick drum. Just push that drive all the way up. Get that nice, fat, crunchy sound. Okay, so that's Ableton. That's a quick way of doing it. Let's take a look in Logic next. So there's a whole bunch of distortion things inside Logic that you could use, but one of the things that I like to use is Overdrive. Now, what I'll do is I'll just take this off and bring it on so you can see the default setting. And that's going to be where this filter is on. So you can see here tone. Let me just bring this down because I know that my video window is going to be up there. So this is like a low pass filter. So if I play the beat now, it sounds muted. So we open up the filter. Just going to warn you that I've got a limiter on the master here so it doesn't clip. Okay, so this is adding level. You can see plus 6 dBs here. So what I could do is just compensate by doing minus. So this is running through, but what I want to do is show you that nice crunch. So we take the drive up. You can really hear that coming through there. Just going to take this down as a result. And this is great because we can get a really precise comparison. So we say 16. Wow. Sorry about that. Minus 16. So plus 16 on the overdrive, minus 16 on the output. It should balance it out. So what I can do is I say bypass. That's normal. So we're going to hear the same level with the overdrive added on top. Here we go. So that's a real nice way to hear accurately what it's adding to the character. Let me take it up a bit. Bring this down as well. Just get that precise again. This is the thing about trying to make these videos, like when you're tired and stuff. But anyway, you guys know that by now. Oh right, okay, so 17.5. This needs to be minus 17.5. Okay, great. Let's have a listen. Right, bypass. And then with it on. It's a real nice vibe to that. I really like that. Logic one's great. So you've seen there are different choices here, and there are in fact other distortion units you could use inside Logic, but for me that's my favorite for adding that raw kind of old school kind of vibe. So final part. let's move on to Qbase. So here we are on Qbase, and I've got something that I like to use, which is the thing called the Tube, and this is part of the distortion selection of VST plugins. So this came with Qbase a long time ago. It's still something I like to use on occasion. It's got a certain vibe to it. So have a listen. I'm going to crank up the drive. Just bring the output gain down for comparison. So I don't have as precise an amount of drive here, so I can't compensate with the numbers. I'm just going to do this by ear, see if we can get it right. So you can hear there's an extra character there. Not quite as distorted as the others that we've heard so far. So what I want to do is show you a third-party plugin that I really like. So this is the Magnetic from Nomad. So this is something that I bought. I actually had Magnetic 1, and then I bought Magnetic 2, and this has got a real nice vibe to it. I'm going to rotate the real speed to dash, and these are the settings that I like to use, so tape and vintage. All right, so have a listen to this. This is a real interesting vibe. All right, so it's not actually happening much at the moment. It's when I increase the saturation here. So let's play it all the way up. So it's quite subtle at the moment. So it's adding real tape vibe. But it's when we add the tape color. So you can really feel that tape saturation vibe. Let me bypass here. So it feels quite dry and lifeless at the moment. We've got tons of character, and then it's really nice actually to crank up the gain here. Just gonna check it on both ears. You know what, that's got tons more energy. It's got a real different vibe. It's actually very easy to overdo these things, right? So find your favorite saturator, find your favorite thing for adding that extra kind of rawness to your beats, and then just probably where you think you got it right, just dial it back just a little bit, because it's probably going to be overcooking it, and you don't want that, because then the rest of your mix is going to be quite hard to slot together. And you know, these things are worth putting over the whole mix. Try it. You know, if you want to get a real obvious old school sound, try it. So yeah, hopefully that's given you guys a little bit more insight into that kind of texture. You've heard it on a lot of tracks. It's very popular. So there's a technical reason. It's sort of based on the original hardware vibe, and now with these plugins you can get that sort of flavor by just adding it, and you know, just find the favorite one, the one that you like the most, and then you know, just go easy with it. You know, don't overcook it. All right, good.